Okay, we're back. Now, like we said, when we talk about doing things live, I just don't go back and edit anything. Okay, I don't see the point to it. If I'm going to tell you this is the way I am, Lord forbid. And I mean, you think about it. Okay, you take a look at the dating sites. A lot of people put up false pictures. They put up, wrong information about who they are. Okay, psychics will tell you all these things they're great at, right? And they'll give you a whole different bio, and many of them use different names. Now I can understand using different names. Lord knows I've gotten enough flack for it. But the reality is, in the end, it all comes out in the wash anyway. So the way I figure it, I will simply be straightforward. If people ask me a question, I've always gone by this philosophy. You ask me a question, I'll give you an honest answer. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, you probably shouldn't have asked it. Okay, because the only thing I've ever guaranteed to people is I won't lie to you to make you feel better. Okay, now, of course, today, as usual, I've got this funny little thing called list. Okay, I keep these handy because it's easier than trying to remember what I'm doing. Always had a problem with that. But success, what is it to you? To me, it was get debt free, get published. I eventually came to the idea I desired to get published. So here's the thing. I've got several books that I've personally published, and now I'm starting on getting them professionally done. Okay, I've already gotten to the point of being debt free. Now, this does not mean that I owe nobody, but it does mean I've got no creditors looking to find me. All my utilities are up to date. My rent's all up to date. I got food in the house. I just don't have to worry that much anymore. Okay, I still have to pay attention, which is something that I've got to do today, is go through my books again and make sure that they're all up to date. Because I know I did some spending yesterday, and, well, I haven't tracked it yet. And I'm not about to make the mistake this time of waiting a week and a half to do so. That just doesn't work well. I used to be a professional procrastinator. Okay, and what I mean by that is there's an old saying that goes, never do today what you can put off till tomorrow. It's a great idea. I had it down to a fine art. What I did was never do what you can put off. Why bother even filling out the whole thing? Just never do what you can put off. Problem with that is sooner or later it comes back to get you. It's kind of like if you're trying to get something organized. I've been talking about getting things organized for years. It hasn't worked well, my sitting on my tail feathers doing nothing. Okay. So, I mean, from my standpoint, it's pretty cut and dried. Sit back, get things planned, start going through things one step at a time. This funny little pad where you write something down, you get it finished, you scratch it off. Write down a third one. Keep 3 things on the list. Now, you'll notice in my case, I've got more than 3 things. Okay. But that's me. The reason for 3 is sometimes if what I've made the mistake of doing in the past is getting 17 or 18 things done, going, I want to get all this done. It gets overwhelming. You don't get it done. Then you look at it going, I didn't do anything. Which isn't entirely true, but by checking them off, and remember, keep the tasks listed to 15 to 30 minutes where possible. Okay. Sometimes that's not possible. Okay, but break them down so that you can get regular work done. Now, when you're at work, there's a whole different set of things to deal with. When you're working at your career, as in you're working for somebody else. Well, and that just brings to mind something else I heard. And it absolutely makes sense. You're always working for somebody else. Okay? There's always somebody stronger, faster, richer, in a better position of power. There's also always somebody in worse shape that is slower mentally speaking, that is physically less adept. You're never the top of the totem or the bottom. Okay. Which was where I got into troubles with religion. I never questioned whether there was a higher power. I just questioned whether the one that we were looking at was the top of the totem pole. Because for reality to work, things have to be internally consistent. Well, if there's always somebody higher, then there has to be somebody higher than that as well. However, that being said, and that brings us around to this other little detail. People talk to me all the time about this thing called the elite and how they're screwing up the world and how they're controlling everything and how they're to blame for my life. The elite are not to blame for my life. I am. Now, granted, I've done a lot of things through true ignorance. I just didn't know better for whatever reason. Ignorance to me is this, true ignorance. For whatever reason, no matter how often you got told, you just couldn't wrap your brain around it. Okay, now, that's ignorance. For me, my dad tried to teach me mechanics. Okay, I'm lucky if I can find the oil cap. Okay, he tried to teach me direction. I still can't track things. However, that's what we call true ignorance. For whatever reason, you just don't get it. Stupidity is when you know better and you do it anyway. Okay, as in, if you've got a certain amount of income and you're constantly spending more money than what you're making, that is called stupidity. You know you don't have that money. You know this because you keep having to borrow it. Okay, and the easy way of borrowing, you go to a credit company, like to a loans company, and you go, "Can I want to borrow money?" And they go, "Okay. Well, you're known for being late, so we're going to charge you a stupid amount of rent. A stupid amount of income of tax, right? Or interest. They call it interest. I call it ripoff. But that's just me now. I used to do exactly the same thing. This is one of the reasons it took me so long. Okay, prime example. I borrowed at a stupid rate. I borrowed $4,000. It got me out of an immediate debt. It got me out of an immediate problem. But had I let the thing run out completely, had I paid it off totally, I'd been paying just over $7,000 back. Now, was that immediate debt, that immediate payment necessary? I thought so at the time. Okay, but it was because of stupid things going, oh, I really want a new TV. I don't have to have one because my TV's still working, but I want the newest one. So I'm going to get a loan. I'm going to buy the thing on payments. And it's only $400 on payments, but that's not bad. You only pay $1,200 to get it in the long run. If you'd have waited the 4 months, because your TV was working anyway, then you'd got it for the $400 because you could have put the money aside. Okay, the problem we have that society seems to have, and I fell into it myself. Okay, it's easier to say I owe so and so, so I'm going to give the money to them, than it is to say I require that much money in X amount of time, so I'm going to put it in my own bank. Now here's the thing. You can do it the old-fashioned way. You can continue borrowing. I will tell you, it leads down a road that is not really healthy for you. And yes, I'm moving stuff out of the way so I can show you something. I can do that because I keep things handy lately. See, this is what I keep my petty cash in at home. This has actual money. Now, the reality is I am not wealthy by any stretch. I'm in better shape than I was. But it's just a standard cash box. Yeah, and I don't need to do that. It's just a standard cash box. It's got standard cash in it. But I keep it handy so I can keep tabs on what I've got. So if I require money, I've got it right there. Okay. It does not cost me service charges to keep it in my account, in my cash box. Now, yes, there is that problem. Well, what if somebody breaks into your house and steals it? Well, that is possible, and then that's my bad. But what if somebody breaks into the bank and steals their money? You've got the same problem. You're still out. Yes, there are safeguards there, and most of my money sits quite happily in the bank. But this was a question of figuring out what I considered success. All this stuff that I've got that's around me it's just stuff. Okay. Yes, I do like it. I certainly have this tendency of looking at life and going, this is what I desire. Okay, this is where I desire things to go and how I want them to run. Okay, well, ain't that quick. Man, I'm talking a lot faster than normal. That's okay. Get a whole pile more said. I'm not sure if that's a good thing. Okay, what I have found is a lot of videos, what happens is people listen to them, they'll listen to the first 2 or 3 minutes and say, scrap it. Okay, I've been known to look at videos and go, I'm just not listening to it. Again, this issue of, never bother with the idea of they might have something to say. They probably do. And I do encourage people to live their own life. I do hope that I get a thumbs up out of you, that you do subscribe to my channel, because I am covering things like, on top of this daily one that I'm doing, okay, obviously, and as you can see on the shelf behind me, like I said, I'm aiming at clearing all that out of the way, and you will find over the next few days, in all fairness, it's likely going to be over the next few weeks, because I'm also doing the same thing up front in the rest of my house. But I desire to get rid of all the clutter so I don't have to worry about it. Now, I'm still very old-fashioned, which is why I've got these things. Okay, many people have computers that keep tabs on things. Me, I've still got file boxes. Okay, but that's because, well, I'm still a dinosaur in a lot of ways. Okay, feel like it half the time too. But that said, to me personally, success is simple. I've got enough cash flow coming in that I don't have to stress over, do I have rent at the end of the month? Okay, do I have the income that I require to pay my bill, so when a bill comes in, I just look at it and go, oh, it's a bill. You notice I got power on. You notice I got computer power. Okay, I can look at my bills now and go, oh, it's $100. Okay, we'll put that in the bill. We'll pay it. I don't think, how am I going to get that and still have rent? Which is the way I have spent my entire life. Looking at it going, will I actually have rent at the end of the month? Now I look at it going, rent sitting in the bank. So let's start stockpiling so we get next month's rent into the bank. Okay, now I'm looking at the future going, how do I build that so I can retire? And it dawned on me, when it comes to your dreams, when it comes to goals, what makes you successful? For me, it's simple. Okay, I desire my stress to go away. Well, sad to say, there's a lot of it on this planet, which is why I'm talking in terms like this. I rattle this through in my own head now. If you think about it, think of this. I have to slow my speed and my thinking down in order to say something. You look at how much things are starting to happen now, and think how fast my mind is going. Okay, there is not a computer on the planet that can outstrip a brain's capacity to compute and to multitask. Okay, now I will encourage you. Most people have some sort of a dream. Maybe your dream is you desire to get on a stage in front of people. Maybe it scares the daylights out of you. Well, years ago, I was talking to an old rock group called April Wine. Okay, fabulous people from way back. That would have been back in the late 80s. Okay, fabulous rock group. Okay, and I got to talk, because I was working roadie for them, I got to talk to them. And the lead singer, he goes, now this is a guy that was, he's up on stage all the time. And I talked to him about this issue of stage fright. And he's like, I always have stage fright up until I get up on stage and start singing. And then everything tends to melt away. But before I start, he says, every show I've got stage fright. The trick is not to say I don't have stage fright. Okay, like I will talk like this. For me, I'll get into a different way. But if I go to a crowd of people, I'm very edgy. I don't deal with a whole lot of people. If I'm working, if I'm at an event, I'm talking. Okay, like for instance, this shirt came from one of the events that I was working at. Okay, I went to speak at it. Okay, and as you can see, it says Paracon. Okay, I can't even read it, but that's down in Skagit County. That was down in Washington State. Okay, and this was from 2019, so this shirt is actually 2 years old, which, in all honesty, does tell you how often I throw my clothes out. Okay, I tend to wear them until they wear out. But when I'm at an event, I've got no problem talking to people. If I'm on my own, okay, especially when I was younger, I had this neat little problem. I would not talk to anybody, right, including my own family, because I just did not feel that my point of view was valuable. Now, I don't know if you feel my point of view is valuable, okay, but I hope so. Hope we get a thumbs up out of you. Hope you subscribe to the channel, because there's a couple of other things we'll be dealing with. We are covering spirituality, which will cover the whole concept of the intermix between what they call New Age and mainstream religion, as well as many of the minor religions. I do not pick on any of them because they're all in the same boat in my eyes. I will be talking business. I've been running my own business and doing virtually nothing with it since 2015. No, wrong. August 15th of 2007, at approximately 5 minutes to noon, I opened the doors to this business. Okay. And since then, I've been running it. I just haven't done much with it. Now I'm starting to work with it to deliberately fuel my future. Probably should have done that, realistically, 15 years ago. But hey, told you, I'm a professional procrastinator. Never do what you can put off. Doesn't work well, by the way. Okay. Now, that said, for me, it's simple. I'm getting it all sorted around now, and I do invite you to continue following, okay, as we go through it, and we can see how things can work for you. Get the idea down, and like I said, I moved it over there, so I can't reach it now. But I have a sign that I keep handy that says, I am worth it. Now, there's a lot of you out there, okay, that go, but I'm trying to help all these people and it gets so stressful. I am the last person to tell you don't help people. I will tell you, if you're claiming to help people, if you're claiming to be a spiritual guide, quit chasing people away from you. Okay. For me, if somebody wants to talk to me, I'll talk to them if I've got the time. There are some times I don't. Okay. And this is why I say, at the bottom of this video, there is a list of different ways of getting in touch with me. Okay. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Skype, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter. Okay, those are the ones that I'm on. Now, some people have asked me about MeWe, and there's a few other ones out there. I frankly, there's no way that I'm going to be able to get on all of them. This is why I leave the list on how to get a hold of me. And of course, dropping me an email line or dropping me a message through here, if you've got specific questions or specific concerns on how to get your life, or for that matter, anything turned around, just ask. I'll be more than happy to be honest with you. Okay, if you want me to lie to you, for pity's sakes, ask first. Go, Keith, I'd like you to lie to me. Okay, I'm a science fiction, science fantasy author. I can do that. I don't see the point in lying to you, but, if you want, I can go there. So, I was looking at it the other day, and I'm happy to say that with The Birth of the Wolfpack, which is the one novel I've written, I'm going back through it to put a compendium together. Okay, it's already in print, but now I'm going through it to make sure I've got every character listed, so that when I get all 12 of them out, I've got the compendium ready to go. That's going to take me some time. And that's one of the things because I was looking for 5 different videos to do, 5 different series to do. I'm working on spirituality, I'm working on business itself. So one of them, and of course, the day-to-day is simply talking about how you get your life in order and how I got mine in order. follow the same path that I follow. If you follow it directly, well, quite honestly, we got to go back to when I wasn't doing anything I'm talking about. I tell people this is what you need to do, and they would go out and do it, and then they'd come back and say, hey, it worked. But you think I could get my tail together and actually do it myself? Didn't work that well. Okay. Again, professional procrastination. I was more concerned about making sure everybody else was taken care of than myself. Net result, ended up in debt, ended up stressed to the gills. And by the way, bottling stress, for those of you that go, I'm not going to say anything because I just don't want to upset somebody. I made that mistake. Okay, and I hope it doesn't come to this for you. I made the mistake of bottling things way too tightly. Net result, I ended up with a stroke out of the deal. And yes, stress will do that to you. Okay, so I absolutely encourage you, be polite to people. Do draw your boundaries politely. There is no point in swearing at people. It doesn't actually, I've yet to hear, that came out well, I have yet to hear of anybody that got promoted. Well, that's not true. I have only heard of one group of people that get promoted for swearing or for being rude. I heard of a restaurant years ago. I don't know if it's still in existence, but it touted itself as being the rudest place on the planet. Okay, as in, you go in there, the waiters and the waitresses were trained to be rude to you, to be uncooperative, to just basically treat you like garbage. Now, personally, I would never go to a restaurant where I was treated like garbage. If I go to a restaurant, I'm looking for proper service. I'm looking for good quality food, good quality drink. In my case, good quality drink usually boils down to coffee. But there was a time when I'd kill a 26er a night without even thinking. Okay, that was one of those other stupid little things I did. Actually, in all fairness, that was a really dumb move, but it was done for the best of reasons, and it worked. Thought I heard a phone ring. I am hearing a phone ring. That's okay. It'll get back to me later. Um, Now, that said, I got into alcohol and drugs. Most people get into it to try and escape. I got into it to get a young lady, a total 100% stranger to me, out of it. Okay, and the side effect was really neat. Okay, I did get her out of it. And in all fairness, all I did was guided her. I simply opened the door. I simply opened the door for her and said, here's some of the things you can do. And I spent time with her and by doing that, she got away from the alcohol, she got away from the drugs. When she walked out of the drugs, the day that she walked out of the bar, I quit drugs and alcohol. It is not a recommended path. Okay. Looking back, if I were to run into the same situation, there is not a snowball's prayer that I would go back into drugs and alcohol to get somebody else out. See, there's this funny thing with alcohol. So many people say, I use it. I'm using it to numb my pain, to help me forget, to help me cope. The reality behind alcohol and I don't understand why. Well, actually, I do, but it seems counterproductive not to tell people this. Alcohol as a way of solving your problems, of dealing with them, of coping with them, has a problem to it. Aside from screwing up your speech and your coordination, all alcohol really does is knocks out your trained and learned inhibitors. In other words, your coping mechanisms go out the window. Now, if you're drinking alcohol to try and cope with the stresses, it's not working well. It's kind of like cutting your arm off because you want to stop your finger from bleeding. It's not going to work that well. I mean, granted, your finger will stop bleeding. Okay, something to do with no more blood flow. But you cannot, the long and the short of it is this: you can avoid problems. You can avoid problems for a time, but sooner or later, you're going to have to deal with them. Okay. And here's the funny part about it. For those of you, I made this mistake. And again, this sounds like I've gone through an absolute horrendous life in a lot of ways. I've done this, I've been there. Well, in all fairness, in a couple of months, I'm going to be 58 years old. I should have done some of this stuff. Would have been better if I didn't. I made the mistake. I had a falling out with my parents where I didn't talk to them much. I talked to them once in a blue moon for years. If I'd have done what I should have done, I could have, what I should have done in my eyes, not necessarily in yours, I could have had a much better relationship with them, even if I'd have done so in the last year. But I chose not to do that. Okay. Now, if you're one of these people that is at odds with a relative or with a friend, okay, sticking out an olive branch, reaching out to say hi, I would strongly encourage you to do. If they tell you to flock off, okay, there's another way of putting that, but we'll keep this polite. If they tell you to go away, then absolutely. Okay. Sorry, not wearing glasses, so we leaned forward to try and see what the time was. If they tell you to go away, you've done what you can. Okay, you've made the effort. And that's all you can do. You're the only person you can control, not anybody else. Well, what if people think badly of me? Well, what if they do? You can't do anything about it anyway. What if you think badly of you? Okay, I cut my hair for the first time in 10 years. Why did I do it? Because I chose to. Okay, my hair used to be down here, as many of you may well have seen. Okay, I cut it because I got tired of it. I just decided I'm changing. So I did. Okay, now I'm going to leave it at this. Again, I'll be back first thing tomorrow morning and have some more stuff dealing with. But until then, take care of yourselves and each other.